So welcome to the inaugural episode of Shawn Analyzes It. And today I want to talk about Interview with a Vampire by Anne Rice. In this case, I'm actually talking about the book because I read the book. And it was a great book, I have to say. I literally just finished it this morning. I got it done in probably 2 weeks. Not that I was like reading that entire time, but whenever I could pick it up, man, I picked it up and I could not put it down. That was just her writing is incredible. Like it really brings me to a lot of thoughts. Makes me think a lot. The way she words a lot of the things and their dialogues and the existential kind of questions that are asked and it's just very thought-provoking. A lot of the concept of throughout the book is an exploration of what is it to be immortal. What is that like? You know, what would that do to a person, to someone with a human experience and a human background? What does it mean to be damned? Really deep subjects, deep thoughts. It's something that's definitely made me curious for a long time. I've always found the better vampire movies, the better vampire stories, even Bram Stoker's Dracula, which he wrote, you know, back in the 1800s, I think, 1800s or 1700s. I think it was the 1800s. But anyway, great book there too, by the way. Definitely read his actual book if you haven't. The movie, it's a movie. It can never be like the book. The book was incredible. And but that's not what we're talking about today. Interview with a Vampire, I picked up a lot of nuances of human nature that she was really investigating and going into sort of the dialectic between particularly Louis and Lestat and then Louis and Armand. And then a lot of it too was even just Louis's thoughts to himself and then his observations to the boy that was interviewing him, the young man that was in the hotel room that starts out the book, and he's having the interview with a vampire. But I have to say, it aged really well because she wrote it back in the 80s. I think Interview with a Vampire was, I think it was actually 81 or 82. And her writing, her dialogue, the philosophical kind of ponderings and questions, the presentation of the different characters is very vivid. So I think what kind of I took away from it, what kind of made me think, was how deeply she was interrogating the difference between normal life and life as a person that has been sort of pushed into an abnormal experience, and what it's like to try to find your place and find your belonging and what life is really about when you can do all sorts of things that you never could do before, but there are things that you had before that they're passed away and you won't have them anymore. And so really in a lot of ways it's kind of like what it's like to experience the passage of time. Like I think about my experiences as a kid and even as a young adult compared to now. And it's very different, you know. It feels like a different life that I lived back then. I feel almost in some ways like Louis of what it was like to be human versus what it is to be a vampire. I feel some of that difference in myself. And, you know, like obviously since I got married and moved out and I've been together with my wife now since, really we haven't separated, haven't parted ways since Valentine's Day of 2020. And Valentine's Day of 2026 is coming the next 2 days as of recording this. And it's an odd kind of feeling looking back to what life was like for me when I lived with my parents, when I lived with my siblings, and the kind of relationships that I had. We traveled all over the country. We lived in Kansas City, Missouri. I had friends there. Not a lot because I'm an introvert and I don't make a lot of friends, but I did have friends there. We had sort of more casual friends that I made in Illinois and close to St. Louis, York, Pennsylvania, to Katy, Texas. Even somebody that, you know, as I am, I wouldn't consider myself to be a social butterfly. I still made friends, I still made connections everywhere that I went. And, you know, I've just taken stock of that, kind of makes me think about it, but makes me rethink that, I guess, assessment to a certain extent. But to whatever degree we think ourselves independent, I guess. But looking back, you know, and thinking about it now, it's like it's all a lifetime ago. And people that I felt very, very close to at that time, now I just remember, it's almost like ghosts, you know, almost like memories of the past that speak to you, that echo. And they're almost less memories and more of like memories of somebody else's life, you know, like you read a book and you're just kind of remembering that story. They feel like stories that have passed. So it's interesting. It makes you think about that kind of thing. It makes you get into the nature of being and the nature of life itself and the passage of time. Makes you think about it all differently. So that's kind of my notes and my thoughts on Interview with a Vampire. It's definitely worth reading, and it makes you think about your own life and the years that have gone by and the things that you experienced and what it's all about, sort of what your reason is. Makes you think about a lot of things. It makes you think about how you relate to society and the world around you, and what it is to go through the death of one phase of your life and then rebirth, reinvention. Definitely a strong theme in the book of the vampires that couldn't reinvent themselves, couldn't find something to love in the new generation, find something that they could connect themselves to. They would end up passing away, you know, they would end up giving up on life. And so they would go underground, or they would walk off and nobody would ever see them again. So that's something we have to bear in mind, is that we need to find our tether, find our grounding in the generation we live in and the things that are around us. So that's it for today for Shawn Analyzes It, and hope you enjoy it. Hope you check out Interview with a Vampire. Read the book. It's an excellent book. Peace out.